Chris Martin can command 80,000 voices in perfect harmony, yet he couldn't find the words to keep Dakota Johnson from walking away. For 8 years, their love hid behind beachfront gates, guarded by emerald ring whispers and even Gwyneth Paltrow's unexpected blessing. But when a silent standoff over the future finally shattered their quiet pact, the breakup hit harder than any Coldplay chorus. Stay, because the last note of this story will change the way you hear every love song he ever wrote. It starts with the sushi. Late October 2017, eagle-eyed diners at LA's tiny sushi park clocked the Coldplay frontman and the 50 Shades star huddled over avocado rolls, laughing like they already spoke a private language. They slipped out in a beat-up Jeep headed for Malibu, headlights off as they reached the coast road, an exit strategy that would become their signature. Move first, talk never. 1 month later, the secrecy went international. Johnson slipped into a private box at Coldplay's Buenos Aires show, swaying through Fix You while fans secretly filmed her silhouette. The grainy clip went viral overnight, confirming what the sushi sighting only hinted at. She would cross hemispheres for him, just never the velvet rope that keeps cameras away. By December 2017, insiders were telling Us Weekly the pair was definitely dating, swapping new Coldplay demos for Johnson's screenplay notes over FaceTime while he finished the Asian leg of the tour. Yet their ground rules held. No red carpet strolls, no birthday Instagram tributes, and every iPhone face down at restaurants so no accidental flashes betrayed them. Summer 2018 cracked the shell a little wider. In July, they joined Aaron Paul and his wife at a Radiohead concert in Boston, hand in hand beneath the mezzanine lights. 2 months later, the world spotted identical infinity symbol tattoos on their forearms, an inked promise so faint most tabloids missed it for a week. When Tatler finally asked Johnson point blank that September, she just smiled and said, "I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm very happy." A confession wrapped in a refusal, and the template for everything that followed. The more the world asked, the more they guarded the quiet room where their story could breathe. By early 2019, their romance had become a treasure hunt for fans. 1 month, Dakota Johnson turned up backstage at a Coldplay arena show in Sao Paulo. The next, she was spotted in a darkened VIP box at London's Shepherd's Bush Empire, mouthing every word to Fix You. Each glimpse fed the same rumor. Chris Martin was leaving breadcrumb clues in his set lists. When he began work on a new track he nicknamed Universe, insiders swore the title wasn't cosmic at all, but a love letter to the woman who kept turning his sound checks into standing ovations.
Chris Martin dedicated My Universe song to Dakota Johnson.
Whoa, this is about my universe. She's here. Yes, sir. Thank you. Baby. All right. Go.
That theory leveled up on February 14th, 2020, when Coldplay dropped the vintage ballroom video for Cry, Cry, Cry. The closing credits flashed, directed by Dakota Johnson and Corey Bailey, confirming what eagle-eyed fans suspected. She wasn't just a muse. She was now shaping the band's visual language from behind the camera. The video's storyline, a couple who survives every decade together, felt like a sly mission statement, and Martin fueled the decoding frenzy by posting nothing more than 3 green heart emojis to celebrate her directorial debut.
Lockdown could have stalled the momentum, but instead it turned their home in Malibu into a 2-person studio. Johnson tested Coldplay demos on cheap earbuds while editing her own indie film scripts. Martin, in turn, helped score temp tracks for her projects. Friends joked that every corner of the house became a different control room. Vocals tracked in the kitchen at noon, screenplay notes swapped over patio coffee at sunset. The result was a creative cross-pollination neither had enjoyed before. Her films gained an ethereal hush, his new riffs borrowed from the lilting cadence of her dialogue. The private code finally broke in public on October 12, 2021. Mid-show in London, Martin paused, pointed to the balcony, and announced, "This is about my universe, and she's here." As the opening chords of the BTS collaboration My Universe rang out, Johnson pressed her palms together, then danced like only one person in the room could hear the song's real meaning. 24 hours later, Martin slipped into the UK premiere of The Lost Daughter. No red carpet, just a shadow at her shoulder and 2 proud parents in the wings. In one 48-hour stretch, the pair proved they could
flood social media with romance without saying more than 16 words. And with that, they close the curtain again. No joint interviews, no sponsored couple shoots, only the lingering echo of a balcony shout-out that fans replayed millions of times. But as we'll see next, letting a love story hide in plain sight works only until real-world logistics crash the stage lights.
By February 2021, whispers that Dakota had merely been weekending in Malibu were put to rest. People confirmed she'd moved into Chris's $12.5 million glass box mansion perched above Point Doom. 6 bedrooms, a recording studio in the basement, and a sun-soaked courtyard where Martin's kids, Apple and Moses, set up a half pipe for their skateboards. Inside, Dakota's touch showed up everywhere. Vintage Murano lamps, floor-to-ceiling books on cinematography, and a giant linen couch the couple nicknamed the Submarine because family movie nights ended with everyone half asleep under blankets. Living together blurred the old boundary between my family and yours. Over Christmas 2021, they all decamped to Aspen. Gwyneth Paltrow, her husband Brad Falchuk, the 2 teens, plus Chris and Dakota bundled in matching navy ski jackets. Paparazzi caught Apple locking arms with Dakota during a coffee run, while Gwyneth posted an Instagram story captioned "Holiday Squad Goals." The tabloids braced for ex-spouse drama that never came. Gwyneth doubled down on the good vibes the following October 2023 during an Instagram Q&A, beaming into the camera to tell 8 million followers, "We're actually very good friends. I love her so much. She's an adorable, wonderful person." Internet commenters joked that the actress had become the world's chillest step ex-wife, but insiders said the bond was genuine. Weekly blended family Sunday dinners rotated between Gwyneth's Brentwood backyard and Chris's Malibu fire pit. Vegan paella one week, Dakota's heirloom tomato pasta the next. Behind those dinners was Dakota's quietly expanding role with Apple and Moses. Friends noticed she switched from "your kids" to "our crew" in conversation. And at a March 2023 school benefit, she was seen coaching Apple through a college selection panel, while Chris tuned a borrowed acoustic guitar for the talent show finale. When a reporter later asked Dakota about motherhood, she smiled. "I already love 2 teenagers like my life depends on it. Whatever label you give that, I'll take it." By late 2023, the fusion looked complete, until competing calendars started to pry it apart. Coldplay booked a 2-year eco tour that would keep Chris on 5 continents, while Dakota signed back-to-back film shoots from Toronto to Thailand. The once sacred Sunday dinners shrank to FaceTime drop-ins. Apple joked that the family group chat was mostly airport selfies now, and that widening travel gap, more than any ex-wife narratives or paparazzi flashbulbs, set the stage for the silent tension that would define the next chapter. But if time zones could shake even this modern Brady Bunch, imagine what happened when rumors of an emerald-cut engagement ring collided with radically different timelines for the future. Whispers of forever began with a single flash of green. In December 2020, paparazzi lenses caught Dakota Johnson strolling a Santa Monica farmer's market, coffee in one hand and just visible beneath her sweater cuff, an electric green stone that looked like it belonged in a crown. Gem bloggers zoomed in, identifying an oval-cut emerald tipped at 8 to 10 carats, its soft facets hugged by a platinum halo. Jewelers pegged the price anywhere between $300,000 and $500,000. Rarer still because emeralds, unlike diamonds, crack if mishandled. Perfect secrecy insurance. The ring disappeared as quickly as it arrived, fueling a year of guessing games. Some insiders insisted Martin had proposed on Christmas Eve 2019, wrapping the ring inside a vintage poetry book for what friends called the most Chris move ever. Others claimed there was no formal moment at all, just a quiet, mutual agreement sealed on a midnight walk along the Point Doom cliffs. The couple, true to form, confirmed nothing. Then came August 2024. Split rumors flooded tabloids after the pair spent 2 straight months on opposite coasts. Martin headlining European festivals, Johnson shooting a thriller in Atlanta. Just when the gossip machine worked itself into a breakup frenzy, Dakota stepped out in Malibu wearing cutoff jeans, a plain white tee, and that emerald, sparkling like it had never left her finger. The move shut headlines down in a single shutter click. One eyewitness told People she angled her hand toward the cameras on purpose, like a poker player showing only the ace. But emeralds can't solve logistics. By late 2024, Coldplay's Eco Tour calendar had ballooned to 150 dates, while Johnson pinned herself to an indie film trilogy set across 3 continents. They were budgeting affection the way other couples budget rent, joked a mutual friend. Face-to-face time shrank to airport lounges and 3 a.m. FaceTime calls. One reason, sources said, the wedding date never moved past the hypothetical. Page 6 would later report that Johnson was sick of him dragging his feet, frustrated that the engagement felt like a promise without a plan. Still, every sighting of the emerald refueled hope. New Year's Eve 2024 found the pair bundled on a Montauk Beach bonfire. The ring flickered in the flames as Apple snapped Polaroids. In March 2025, Johnson wore it to support Martin at a London charity gala, pressing his palm during speeches about global equality. Fans melted
but insiders noted the red carpet photos marked the first and only time she'd showcase the stone at a formal event. Soon after, the glow dimmed. During a late April walk through Tribeca, photographers caught Dakota with bare fingers. No emerald, no bands, just a neutral expression and headphones. Some outlets called it ring resting, a coy habit celebs use when jewelry needs cleaning. Others recognized the familiar pattern of off-again turbulence. When People finally confirmed the breakup in June 2025, the publication emphasized that the engagement had been years old, but the wedding date never found traction. The emerald, once a symbol of promises whispered in private, became the perfect metaphor for their dilemma. Gorgeous, fragile, impossibly hard to carve into permanence. And as we shift into the next chapter, where world tours collide with ticking biological clocks, the cracks the gemstone couldn't hide start to split wide open. Love thrived inside their Malibu bubble until the calendar burst. Fall 2023 found Dakota juggling promotional rounds for Madame Web while filming an indie thriller in Toronto. Chris was blueprinting Coldplay's colossal eco tour, slated for 150 shows across 5 continents. At first, the miles felt manageable. Red-eye flights, handwritten lyrics tucked into suitcases, FaceTime calls where her clapboard clacked in the background and his arena crowd roared in the distance. But by winter, those calls kept ending with the same glitching sentence. When are we actually in the same place again? The time crunch exposed a deeper rift. Kids or no kids? In a March 2024 interview, Johnson said she was so open to becoming a mom and wanted to experience everything life has to offer. Friends heard urgency between the lines. Martin, already devoted to Apple and Moses, felt his family chapter was complete. Insiders say every discussion about setting a wedding date looped back to that irreconcilable question. Do we add a nursery or do we buy more tour luggage? Emotional strain showed in public flashes. At the Hope for Depression Research Foundation lunch in November 2023, Johnson shared that Martin once recognized her mood had crashed simply by the t-shirt she chose that morning. He responded with an impromptu beach walk and silence until she spoke. The anecdote drew applause for its sweetness, yet observers noted she was essentially praising him for triaging damage the schedule kept causing. Behind the scenes, the couple tried therapy, stitching sessions between tour rehearsals and night shoots. One source described calls where Dakota sat on a prop room floor in Atlanta while Chris dialed in from a Stockholm hotel, both speaking through delayed audio and blinking back exhaustion. Progress stalled when Martin's management tacked another stadium leg onto the tour, just as Johnson signed a 3-film package that would keep her abroad through late 2025. By April 2025, even their famously harmonious blended family felt the strain. Apple joked on TikTok that their Sunday dinners had turned into "Where in the World is My Dad?" and Dakota, a lighthearted quip that still racked up 2 million sympathetic likes. The couple's shared Malibu home began to resemble a transit lounge. Unopened guitar cases against the wall, film script binders stacked by the door, and a spreadsheet stuck to the fridge titled "Possible Weeks We're Both Free." None of the dates matched.
The final straw came in late May 2025 after another postponed "Let's Pick a Wedding Month" conversation. Page 6 later reported Johnson was sick of him dragging his feet, frustrated that the 6-year engagement felt like an endless sound check with no showtime. Martin, equally weary, suggested they pause and breathe. 2 days later, he left for tour rehearsals in Denver. She removed the emerald ring and flew to New York for contract meetings. They never synced calendars again. That gap, time zones wide, expectations wider, wasn't just physical distance. It was the echo of 2 parallel dreams finally drifting out of range, setting the stage for the silent split the world would discover only weeks later. It didn't end with a press release, it ended with a whisper that detonated across the internet. On June 4th, 2025, People dropped the exclusive. After nearly 8 years of circling one another through concerts, premieres, and postponed wedding plans, Chris Martin and Dakota Johnson were officially done. And insiders swore it feels final this time. The first visual proof arrived less than 24 hours later. Johnson stepped into Manhattan's sticky summer air wearing loose linen and bare fingers. The $500,000 emerald ring was gone. Paparazzi caught every angle, and body language experts on TikTok dissected the way she kept her hands clasped, almost daring the flashes to notice. Yet behind the civil gestures, the fault line was clear. One Yahoo insider claimed the engagement collapsed over a never-ending debate about picking a wedding date, with Johnson tired of the limbo and Martin unable to commit between tour legs. The same report hinted at bruised feelings over the couple's diverging timelines on starting a family. Issues Section 5 already foreshadowed. By mid-June, the Malibu mansion sat empty, real estate drones hovering above packed-up surfboards and a locked studio door, while Martin's tour buses rolled east and Johnson's press junket hopped continents.
The quiet that once protected them now sounded like a closing curtain. And if you listen closely to Coldplay's new soundcheck leaks, you'll notice the lyrics land harder when they hit an empty echo. But endings are only half the melody. The real surprise is what each of them does next, and how a friendship with an ex-wife, a stadium full of fans, and one runaway puppy might rewrite the coda of a story we all thought we knew. Offline, the ex-couple's Malibu mansion now echoes only with movers' footsteps. Surfboards are boxed, the studio door padlocked. Yet insiders say the pair still swap courteous text about Gwyneth's holiday plans and Apple's college essays. Proof that love can morph into something quieter, if not smaller. And that leaves the question humming between every lyric and late-night talk show quip. Can two artists who guarded their romance so fiercely learn to let its ending resonate in public without speaking a single word? Or does true privacy demand an eternal, echoing silence, one that turns every new Coldplay chorus and every red carpet smile into a Rorschach test for the rest of us? Whatever answer you hear, it probably says more about you than about them, because sometimes the loudest part of a love story is the space it leaves behind.